Good night, good evening, and welcome to Mingles of Evo Live. Thanks for joining. As always, Vanessa Vega here every Wednesday night speaking about spirituality, helping you understand your awakened path, right? And helping you obtain your highest life potential. So tonight I want to speak about, because last week we were talking about consciousness. I received a question that was quite a deep question to answer in one of these short short videos, right, that I do. And so I felt today in the obligation to further clarify. And today I want to perhaps explain what consciousness is. And I want to explain what it is and I want to define it. Okay? So let's start. I got this definition from the New World Encyclopedia, and it starts by explaining, as I like to look at the etymology of the word. So the word consciousness comes from the Latin word conscientia, which primarily means and refers to the moral conscience of a person, right? But in the literal sense, conscientia means knowledge with, that is shared knowledge, right? And I explained here before that in Spanish we say conciencia, that if we literally explain it, it says with knowledge or with feeling, because it comes from the word conscious. Also, when we explain the word conscious, I am conscious of something, we say in Spanish, estoy consciente, which when we divide it, it says with feeling. So it's with the part of us that has feelings. Okay? And I want to clarify that because at its simplest, consciousness refers to the sentience or awareness of internal or external existence. It has been defined variously in terms of qualia, subjectivity, the ability to experience or to feel, wakefulness, having a sense of selfhood or soul, the fact that there is something that is like, to have or to be it, and the executive control system of the mind. So it works together, right? Feelings and the executive control system of the mind. They both work together. It is not believing or thinking. As we can see here, right? It does not come from believing or from thinking. It is being aware, or it is a knowing. So consciousness is more of being aware, having awareness, or a knowing of something. But the word knowing is used indiscriminately to describe two human processes that are very different and are constantly confused, because the human body is an integrated and well-coordinated system whose executive function is ultimately executed by the physical being, although the command truly initiated from the energetic being contained in the human body. Knowing, we have two types of knowing. So we have the type that comes from learned and the brain's executive function, and then we have the knowing that comes from experience. And this entanglement is the basis for all human confusion. I've said this before. And for this purpose, I'll divide them how I personally had to in order to reach for my answer or my definition of consciousness. So I would ask you, would you agree that knowing that comes from a learned process is the same as, is equal to belief or an intelligence, the capacity to retain information one has been exposed to? Think about it. So the knowing, when we learn something, I know that because I learned it, is more a belief and has to do with our intelligence and the capacity to retain that information. And then we have the knowing that comes from experiencing, which I attribute to wisdom and the amount of emotional knowledge, information one has been exposed to. There is a very thin line between the words belief and the word knowing, which are the two different variants that I'm going to discuss today, and I'm going to define first in order to arrive to our consciousness definition, okay? And these two, belief and knowing, need to be deeply analyzed in order to be able, okay, to define the word consciousness. Because a knowing that comes from wisdom or experience, right, is a direct result exactly of an experience that you've lived. So to truly know something, truly know something, you got to experience it or live it. Because we know, and we've said this before, we cannot, no one learns, right, from another's experience. We have to go through it. For example, being a parent, we can be conscious and know about the experience of parenthood, but it is not until you become it, until you become a parent, right, have the experience yourself, that you truly get to know the full scale of it. So knowing that comes from wisdom is an immersive process, not a superficial one. It requires a full circle investment of yourself into something, one that requires the use of all your senses and your emotions. Notice that knowing that comes from wisdom or experience involves emotions and your whole self. In other words, if you do not feel something, if you don't feel it through, right? We have not experienced and fully gotten to know about a subject. We may have cognitive sense or learned knowledge about the subject, but we can never truly know it. So having said that, let's talk about the other type of knowing. A belief or learned knowledge, in other hand, does not require the immersive experience of it. It is more of a learned, right? A learned process out of doctrine, learning through repeated thought, a logic, rationalization, or repetitive action that requires thought in the way of a remembrance, right? When we remember something because we've seen it before or because we've done it before, and memorization of something. So it's more like a recording. For example, a dress code for a corporate job. No one is going to show, right? Well, maybe perhaps it has happened, but it's not normal, and it's something that we see every day, that a person shows. You're not going to show in bikini to a business meeting, okay? Because you've observed the behavior in others, because you've been told, perhaps by the company or other people, about the corporate dress code, right? About how we should present ourselves if we are going to a corporate meeting. So we are conscious, we learned and know or have the cognitive information about the subject, but do not necessarily have required that the inclusion of all our senses, right? And above all, our emotions in it. Yet, we also refer to this as a knowing about something, because perhaps we have studied it, right? Can be because we have studied or have been exposed to the information for a long period of time or for repeated number of times. So when they tell you, no, you don't have to go, you can't go in a bikini, you say, I know that. I know I cannot go like that, right? Because you've seen it before and you've heard it before, but not necessarily because you have experienced it. Perhaps you have, right? Perhaps you have, but it doesn't require that. Notice that a belief involves your learning mostly from your visual and your auditory senses, or your thought and remembrance, right? And cognitive abilities, which involve your brain's executive function. Therefore, for me, for Vanessa Vega, okay, beliefs and thoughts go hand in hand with someone's intelligence, which is the ability to retain information and knowledge to which we have been exposed to. While knowing has to do with wisdom, which is the capacity or amount of immersive experience and emotional knowledge one has. So, in conclusion, I found that the difference between these two is that knowing requires the use of all senses and immersive emotional experience, while belief does not. So, in the human body, which is a complex system, right? System, the soul and the mind were perfectly together. And who does what is extremely unperceivable and difficult to identify. So I identify beliefs with our mind because it requires memorization, thought, doctrine, learning, while a knowing has to do with experiencing, has to do with feeling, has to do with emotions, and has to do with our soul and our consciousness. So, for this reason, in conclusion, consciousness is all about our soul, our awareness, our knowing, our experience, our feelings and emotions. Our consciousness is our emotional body, our energy in motion. It has wisdom. It has emotional experience and knowing, knowledge, wisdom within itself. So consciousness is a synonym, we can say, for the divine material we are all made of: energy, of our soul. And when applied to human life and to this scientific language, it is the same as when we translate it into scientific words: soul and a consciousness is the same as talking about energy and atoms and our energy in motion, our emotions, which are vibrational frequencies, And the reason why consciousness already has knowing, has wisdom, has knowledge within itself, and doesn't require much learning, right? It's because of its indestructible nature, its constant connection to the quantum field, and all the emotional vibrational knowledge experienced from previous and multiple lifetimes. Because as you know, I've always explained, energy, consciousness cannot be destroyed. And since it can't be destroyed, all the information you're experiencing in this lifetime is being added to all that emotional information of all the lifetimes we've been here, okay? For that same reason, it has far more knowledge and experience than what your current brain, that only lives one experience, has. So please, this is why I've made my book, right? Please, and it is a calling to chase your soul and surrender to it. Use your soul as your brain, and you will never go wrong in life. So with this, I leave you. I hope to have explained further what consciousness is all about. Stands clear that consciousness is all about experience and our emotions, and not of our thoughts, okay? And not of our brain. So with this, I leave you, and reminding you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel that is available already, and to follow me here in our new Facebook page, Evo Life 360. The name of the channel is the same exact name, Evo Life 360. And nothing, hoping that, sending you as always love and light, hoping that this information has helped you a lot. Please share with other people so that we can spread this knowledge, and so that we can help a lot of other people, okay, to waken up. to this truth. So sending you love and light and thanking you for having you here. See you next week here again in the Mingles of Evo Life. Bye bye.